Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter for today. Today we are talking about pledges and prepaids. So I'm going to walk you through how to get your pledges entered into Church Windows donations, and then I'm also going to show you how to enter prepaids and get those prepaids linked up to accounting properly. All right, so I opened up donations. There's a couple different ways you can go about setting up your pledge campaign for the next year. You can copy a previously used pledge campaign if you have one, or you can enter everything from scratch. So the copy campaign option is really helpful if you typically have the same pledgers from year to year and they typically pledge the same amount. It can be really handy to use that copy feature. But if you don't want to use the copy feature and you just want to manually enter each pledge as the pledge cards come in, then we can create one from scratch. Okay, one is not better than the other. The end result is the same. It's just up to you about how you want to get those pledges entered into the database. Okay, I'm going to show you both. First thing to keep in mind when you're about to set up a pledge campaign is you need to pick the giving account that people are going to pledge to. Okay, so I'm going to start by going here into Manage Accounts. And I want to show you here all of these different giving accounts that have been set up over the years. Okay, you can use the same account from year to year. So if you always have people pledging to general fund, you can reuse account 101 each year. You do not need to make a general fund 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. You do not need to do that. You simply use this account from year to year. And when you create your pledge campaign, that's when that date range is assigned to when their pledge is occurring, within what time frame. Okay? Something else to keep in mind, whatever account you decide to go with as your pledge account, you need to come over here to the right and you need to make sure you have this pledgeable account box checked. Okay? Otherwise, when you go to set up your pledge, if this box isn't checked, you won't be able to choose that account for people to pledge towards. Okay? Make sure this is checked. Also, you have this default pledge account frequency drop box. This just helps you with the entry process for your campaign. If most of the people who pledge are going to be annual pledgers, then just put annual in here as your frequency and it's going to save you a click when you go to enter those individuals' pledges. Okay. There's also flat as an option as well, and then it kind of breaks down further into different increments depending upon what you need. I do want to touch on the difference between flat and annual real quick. Something to keep in mind when choosing your pledge frequencies. Annual means someone has from the very first day of the year to the very last day of the year to meet their pledge. Okay, so whenever you go to run reports or donation statements, if you don't run those reports for the entire year, your annual pledge amount is not going to be calculated. Okay, it's going to show up as 0 because it has to be for the whole year. All right. If you're always running your donation statements for the whole year, then annual might be fine for you. But if you want to run reports or run statements and only show giving through a particular quarter or through a particular date range, I would recommend going with a pledge frequency of flat. Flat means Bob and Sally are going to give $10,000 and they are going to give it any way they want in any increments that they want. Okay, so whether I run their donation statement date range for 1 quarter or whether I run it for 3 quarters, that pledge amount on their donation statement is always going to show $10,000. Okay, if you use one of these other frequencies down here, the pledge amount will be calculated out based on your date range that you choose. So if you do a monthly pledger and your date range for your statements is through the 2nd quarter, then that's going to calculate your pledge for 6 months or through that 2nd quarter. Okay? So play with the frequencies, see which one you like better, depending on how or what type of reports you need out of the database, okay? Okay, so that's giving accounts. Now let's go in and we're going to go up here under accounts and pledges with a big blue ribbon. You can also get to it right in the middle here. And up at the top, you can see there are two tabs. There's a campaign pledges tab and there's a pledges by giver tab. Any organized pledge drive or group of pledgers that are going to give to the same giving account, it's going to be best to organize all of them here on campaign pledges and set up a campaign. If you have someone who comes to you, for example, on their own and just wants to give, say, $50 a month to flowers, then you can set up that unique or that individual pledge here on the Pledges by Giver tab by selecting that specific person and adding their pledge as a new line item here. Okay. Pledges by Giver is also a great way to search for a particular person and see their pledging history as well. Okay. You can search for them here. You can check inactive to see maybe people who passed away or left the church, older pledges there. You can also use the left, and right facing arrow to click through and see other people's pledge history. If they have little balloons here, that means that they have fulfilled their pledge. They've either met it or exceeded it. Okay. All right, back to campaign pledges. First thing here on page 5 talks about copying a campaign. What you can do here in this campaign drop box, hit the down arrow and choose a previous pledge campaign that's been set up. So right here we have General Fund 2023. The account everyone has pledged to for this is General Fund, and the start date is for all of 2023. I can select that one. All of those pledgers then are going to be down here at the list in the bottom. I can come up here to the top right and I can hit copy campaign. Gives me a message about leap years, that's fine. Enter your new campaign name. Let's call this General Fund 2024, keeping consistent. Verifying my start date and my end dates are what I want. I'm going to fix that last day there and I'm going to say okay. Now it's going to take all of those people from 2023 and it's going to copy them here. You can see now all our date ranges or our dates are for 2024. Okay. All of their amount per frequency, frequencies, and total pledged is going to be copied from their 2023 pledge. Okay. Pretty simple. This is done. Close out. You've copied your campaign from last year. Now, let's say somebody comes to you and wants to hopefully increase their pledge for 2024. If that's the case, just come in here, select that same campaign, and then in this amount per frequency column, this is where you are going to go in and increase their pledge. So this is a monthly pledge. Let's say they're bumping it up to $400 a month. Once I get that in there, I can click tab or click somewhere else, and then their total pledged amount is going to be automatically updated with their new amount per frequency. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. You can change frequencies here. You can change amount per frequencies. You can also edit start dates and end dates within the date range of the campaign itself. Okay, if somebody comes to you and says, "Golly, I just don't have it in me to pledge this upcoming year," if that's the case, over here to the right, hit the little minus sign. It's going to give you a message about deleting the pledge, but we do want to get rid of it, so we're going to say yes, and now that pledge is gone from the campaign. Okay, new person comes to you, brings you a pledge card that you want to put in. Simply select them in the list. Let me see if I can find somebody who's not already here. Enter how much they're pledging. Specify their pledge frequency, add giver to campaign, and then that person is going to be popped down in the list. Okay. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward stuff for copying a campaign. Now, if you need to start a brand new campaign, come back in here to pledges. Right next to this campaign drop box, instead of hitting the down arrow to select one, you're going to simply hit the green plus sign. Put in the name you want to use. We're going to call this, we'll call it Roof Fund 2024. We'll say okay. We need to specify what account people are going to be pledging to for this roof fund. You can choose an existing account in the list, or you can hit the little green plus sign and create a whole new giving account. We'll just call it building fund for now. Adjust your start date and end date to reflect the date range you want. Default amount, default frequency. You can use this if everyone's going to be pledging the same amount and frequency. It just helps you add things in faster. But because everyone's going to be pledging their own unique amounts, I'm going to just hit add givers. Then the rest of the screen unlocks and I can simply start clicking through here, selecting my person, selecting my pledge frequency, and adding them to the campaign. And then back to the giver tab, choosing my next person, entering their pledge information, and adding them to the campaign. Okay. There's no save on this screen. That sometimes hangs people up. There's no save. You just simply close out and it will stick that or keep that information in there for you. Also down at the bottom there is a print report button. This will give you a real easy to read campaign comparison report. You can print that off eventually. There it goes. Giver number, giver, pledged amount, how much they've given so far. And then you also have a nice running total pledge total down at the bottom. Okay? Pretty easy entering campaigns. Let's go ahead and start talking about those prepaids. So prepaids is going to be a donation or money that comes in a period prior to the start date of your campaign. Okay, so let's work with Mr. Mel Miller here as an example. His pledge amount is $10,400, and let's say he wants to prepay $5,000 before 1/1/2024. So he's going to give that in the current period. Let's say he gave it last Sunday, for example. Okay. So he is giving in 2023, but he wants that money to go towards or offset his pledge for the building fund for 2024. Okay. First thing you have to do when entering a prepaid, you have to have a pledge entered in for that person. Okay. So you have to have a pledge to prepay before you can enter the prepaid donation. All right. Something else I want to make note of, in the old contributions module before donations existed, you used to have a specific giving account called prepaid pledge. You do not want to have a giving account in donations called prepaid pledge. When we enter this prepaid, we are in fact going to choose this 103 building fund that he pledged to in 2024. Okay, I'll show you that in a minute. I think it's easier to see it. But something we need to set up for prepaids. Here in Manage Accounts, I'm going to click to highlight my building fund account. And I'm going to come over here to the right, and I'm going to go to this Accounting Links tab. Okay, this is only if you use the accounting module. If you don't use the accounting module, this isn't going to apply to you. But if you are using the accounting module, it's important that these prepaids don't go in as income for 2023. We want this money to show up as income in 2024 because it is in fact a prepaid. Okay. What you want to do over here on your Accounting Links tab is you have your debit account. This is going to be the checking account or the actual account at the bank where the money is being deposited. You have your regular credit account. So this is an income account because it starts with the number 4 for building fund. So regular donations go right here into this 4/20/100. But then you also have this prepaid credit account, right? In here, you are going to see all of your liability accounts. So what the goal is with this prepaid is when prepaid money comes in, it's going to go into a number 2 account or a liability account in accounting. It's going to be a holding tank for that money. Then when the new year starts and you update your beginning balances for 2024, liability accounts always keep their balance. So that money that came in into this specific prepaid account, that balance is still going to be there. Then in the new year, once 2024 comes, you're going to do a journal entry and you're going to remove that money out of the liability account and put it into the specific income account where you want that money to show. Okay? That's all written out on page 6 of that document if you want a hard copy of that to review. But the main thing to keep in mind is specifying this prepaid pledges account here as a liability. All right, because that liability account is going to hold that balance into the new year, and then you can journal the money out of the liability into the corresponding account over in accounting. Okay. So now that we have it set up correctly, let me show you what it looks like on Enter Donations. I think it's easier to see it, at least for my brain, it is. So in Enter Donations, I'm going to choose last Sunday. I'm not going to use a batch code for this, but I'm going to go down to Mr. Mel Miller. He gave $5,000. Okay. Keep in mind, he gave it in this date. So we're choosing 2023. Let's say he gave a check. I'm going to put in his check number. And if you look down here under account/pledge, it pulled up his current pledge for general fund. So if I left this like this, this $5,000 would go to his current pledge towards general fund. But I don't want it to go there. I want it to go to the roof or the building fund account for 2024. So if I hit the down arrow here, and I start scrolling down to the bottom of the list, I'm going to start seeing some pledge ranges pop up, okay? So here are his previous pledges down here, but at the top of the list, I have a building fund for 2024. He also pledged for general fund for 2024. We're not worried about that right now. We want this money to go to his building fund pledge for 2024, which was called roof fund. Okay. By selecting this building fund in the future, that tells the software this gift is in fact a prepaid, and it's going to be smart enough when you go to transfer this over to accounting to put it into that prepaid liability account that we linked. Okay. So I'm going to hit done, add to batch. It says you have selected a pledge that's in the future. Click OK if they are prepaying a future pledge. If you don't want to see this message again, check that box, say OK. You've added it to the batch. Now let's hit post and transfer. I don't want to print it right now. But then it's going to open up our transfer donations to accounting screen. And if I expand this, you're going to see instead of that 420-100 building fund income account, it has replaced the credit account with our prepaid liability account. Okay, so it's smart enough to know, yep, this is a prepaid, yep, I'm going to use this credit account instead, and then you can post that money over into accounting. Okay, I hope that's clear to you guys. Prepaids can be a little bit tricky, but the document does a really good job, I think, to walk through that and explain it to you. Okay. All right, that's everything I wanted to go over with you guys today.